Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who participated in this event. Inshallah, there are more events to come from Son of Jeddah, which happens to be me. This is a 5-year-old startup. It began in 2017, and over the years I've been producing content for the superhero community, and in that respect, one thing has led to another. What started out with posts it became videos. After that, it turned into podcast, and then finally we are now starting the events. Basically, the whole purpose is to provide some space to the community that loves superheroes. If they are active in cosplaying, if they are action figure collectors, if they are statue collectors, they read comics, they collect comics. Basically, we need to provide a platform. The community is getting bigger and bigger by the day. The first Comic Con that happened in Jeddah, which was Saudi Comic Con, that saw 30,000 people attending it. This Comic Con that happened recently in June at Jeddah Superdome, it saw more than 100,000 people coming in. So kids as young as 5-year-olds to adults as old as up to 60-year-olds, they are indulging this passion concerning superheroes in any shape or form. So the purpose of today's event was to basically talk about something really interesting. We are coming across a lot of intense following when it comes to superheroes. I mean, we just have 2 of our members having a very high amount of dedication, if you will, just to be the characters they want to be. This thing doesn't come with a fluke. Anyone who's collecting comics, they are having like 1,000 comics, 500 comics. People are having collections of graphic novels. People are having collections of statues. In places in Saudi Arabia, not just Jeddah, Riyadh or Khobar, but also in places like Wadi al-Dawasir, in places like Bureda, in places like Abha. If I tell somebody 5 years ago that this is happening in Saudi Arabia, they would be laughing in my face. But now, thanks to the Comic Cons that's happening, people are now seeing it. So I really wanted to talk about why superheroes are really important. And the reason behind that is that these characters who we grew up loving, they offer something more. They offer something deeper. And based on our backgrounds that we come from, we are in the Arabian Peninsula. We have a strong association with Islam. We have communities that have associations with Christianity. We have people coming in from the West residing over here, and they themselves are bringing their passion for superheroes. What is it? What is it that is basically connecting them in a deeper way, in a meaningful way with superheroes? Today, I want to explore that. So the format is going to be first the talk, later on Q&A sessions. Final bit is going to be the cosplay competition, and the cosplayer who gets the most of audience's vote will get a Marvel gift box. So a big round of applause for all of you, and especially our cosplayers who are attending this event. And thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out to attend. The interesting thing is that the world of fiction is not something new, even in our part of the world. If we go back to the time of Banu Abbas Sultanate, we had Alf Layla. Now, the problem is that the age of superheroes began in the late 30s. Before that, what was the concept of heroism? Can any one of you tell me what was it exactly like?
I'm assuming knights.
Okay, that's a good example. Anybody else?
Maybe in religion, there is supernatural.
But they were revered as religious figures,
Yeah.
but not as heroes. I mean, people like, for example, Hercules. You have Ares. You have in India Ashoka. You have Mitra in Persia. You have
Phoenix.
so what was Thor? Yeah. Exactly. So, but what exactly was the concept? I mean, why would people look up to them as heroes?
They saved the world or something?
Okay, they saved the world or something. Anybody else?
Maybe it's something no one did before.
Such as?
Didn't have an example.
Okay. I'll simplify it for you. Were they value driven? Value driven. Value meaning here in this context we are talking about aqdar, like selflessness, compassion, helping out the needy, sacrificing, self-sacrificing. So these are like, for example, values. Now, were these heroes, the ones that we all mentioned, were they value driven or ego driven? Any guess?
I'm thinking value.
Okay, we have one response, value. What about
Maybe both.
value and ego? Okay, so value and ego.
Maybe ego.
Now you're guessing. Okay. Right. The thing is that the previous versions of heroes, let me give you an example from within the culture itself. Aladdin. The whole story of Aladdin is actually a Chinese story which was brought into the Abbasid era, and then it was collected as part of Alf Layla. Aladdin is a hero because he's smart. He is able to, defeat his enemies. He is able to get the princess he loves. These are all selfish needs, if you will. Where is the value in all of this? Like ethics, selflessness, putting yourself out on the line, something like that. There is nothing there. The man you see over here, who is highly regarded in places like Greece and Italy, you find the statues and everything. This man was known for his strength. This man was also known for his brutality, to the extent that in his capers he would be ending up killing innocents with no remorse. Of course, a mythological creature, but the character was looked with awe and inspiration, if you will, to a certain extent. Same thing goes for other characters like Ashoka. I gave an example. He is a warlord. Then you have Mithra. All of these characters, they don't have the value that's there. They are admired for their cunningness. They are admired for their tactics that they use against their rivals. They are admired for their bravery, for their own self. They are admired for achieving their objectives. But they are certainly not value-driven. Next slide. Now, in 1933, the first draft of Superman was actually developed by these two gentlemen. That's Jerry Siegel and that's Joe Shuster. These two individuals were able to develop a character called Superman. Now, the circumstances about Superman are quite unique. When you're talking about the 1930s, this is a time when America and Europe are in the post-Renaissance phase. Nationalism is going on top. The nationalistic fever is running high. World War I has already happened, which has seen the first ever chemical bomb being used. A lot of communities in Europe are being persecuted for their illiberal beliefs. When I say illiberal beliefs, I mean their religious beliefs. And in that respect, these two individuals, who are teenagers at the time, they represent the Jewish community of Cleveland, Ohio. They are from poor backgrounds. Their father is I think Jerry Siegel's father was a suit salesman. That's why you can notice they knew how to wear good suits throughout their lives. So now, because they are teenagers, they are also geeks. They are not strong. They are not brave enough to face their own challenges, and they are being bullied. They are being bullied for being geeks. They are being bullied for wearing glasses. They are being bullied because they are Jews. So their anger, their frustration is bottling up. Now there are two ways to channel it out. Either you yourself become the aggressor, or you channel it in a different way. So what happened was that they wanted to create something because they were very much into the pop culture of the day. But at the same time, because they came from a conservative Jewish background, so the influence of Torah was quite a lot at the time. So they know the stories of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. They know the story of Gilgamesh. They know the story of Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam, even Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam. And they keep on listening and everything and keep on imagining, and at the same time their frustration of being bullied and everything is leading them in a particular direction. Lo and behold, they come across the reign of Superman. Now the funny thing is that this first book, Superman is actually the villain. And he is Lex Luthor. Okay? He is as demonic as Lex Luthor, but he has the powers. So in terms of personality, he has the Lex Luthor personality, and he has all those superpowers and everything. It is more like a Frankenstein kind of a story that developed. They did this one issue, I think, and then they held it back. After that, what happens is that characters like Flash Gordon, Phantom, Mandrake the Magician, if any of you who grew up in Jeddah in the 80s or the 90s, and if you remember, there used to be a cartoon series shown on Saudi Channel 2 called Defenders of the Earth. Those characters are from the same timeline as Superman. But over a period of time, they lost their relevance because they were more about the old style heroism rather than they were about superheroism. So finally, in 1938, we see Action Comics #1, in which Superman, the version we are now familiar with, which is being played by Henry Cavill, this character debuts in 1938. Now, how many of you are Superman fans? MashaAllah, only 2. Okay. What about Batman? Ya salam alaikum. Ya salam alaikum. Okay. Why do you like these characters? First, I'm going to start out with fans of Batman because they are in the majority. So, why do you like Batman?
Because he's more relatable. Like, he doesn't have any superpower. He do everything, he make his gadgets, and that's it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, and full moves.
Cool moves. His fighting
Yeah,
skills.
his fighting skills, exactly.
What about the way he strikes fear into the heart of his enemies?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
The strategies and like how he sneaks from there to here, it is nice actually to see.
Perfect. Okay, those who raise their hands for Superman, why do you like Superman?
It's because he's very powerful.
Okay. Okay. Superman fan.
And he represents the values of being a superhero. He's the icon.
You're saying he's the icon because he's the first.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I love it.
Okay. It's not because of the blue and red costume. Huh?
I like the costume, but he's the first. And he's
The icon.
real icon of superhero.
Okay. Very good answers. Hmm?
Modern superhero.
Right. Okay. Now, interesting thing is, in my podcast, I got the chance to interview an American author. His name is Roy Schwartz. He wrote a book with a slightly controversial title. Not controversial, I would call it a bold title. Okay, Is Superman Circumcised? But if you leave the title on the side, the book is a genuine thesis that makes the case that Superman is not the product of modern philosophy. Because a lot of us, when we go on Google and we write about Superman, unfortunately, a lot of the times what happens is that we get, I think Friedrich Nietzsche, who was the French philosopher, his concept of Übermensch. That's not the case. Roy Schwartz is one of those few individuals who got the chance to review the Jerry Siegel manuscript in New York Public Library. Jerry Siegel's document written in his own handwriting that what inspired him, which characters inspired him to create Superman. The first character, what is your expectation? Who would be his first inspiration?
I cannot say because it's too.
For those of you who are not like Ali, who knows already, any guesses? Any guesses?
Come on, try your best.
Okay.
Options.
Mythological figure, a religious figure, some other superhero, or a cartoon character. 4 options.
Maybe a cartoon character?
Okay. We have one cartoon character. Guys, some creature. When you say creature, what do you mean by it? Like some kind of an alien or something? Or from planet Earth?
A bird?
Hmm?
Bird?
Bird. Okay. Bird. Right. Anybody else? Guys, there's no shaming here. It's no right or wrong answer. Since you guys are feeling a bit reluctant in that, I'll help you out. To an extent, the options I gave you, almost all of the above, except for the philosophical part. The first person or personality or historic figure that inspired Jerry Siegel to create Superman was Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Even the suit, red and blue, or blue and red, comes from a Renaissance era painting of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, which was, I'm not sure it was done in Italy or France, where he is shown in that particular garb. So now you would be wondering how. What is so relatable to him with Sayyidina Musa? Well, what happened when Sayyidina Musa was born? His mother tried to protect him. She put him in a basket and pushed him on the river Nile. Superman's parents, Krypton is getting destroyed. They put him in the spaceship and they program it to leave it for planet Earth. So this is the first part. But does it end there? Does it end there? Is that the only inspiration that they have? Refugees. Superman was depicted as a refugee who lands on planet Earth, and he is welcomed by the people in Kansas, Smallville, Kansas, to the extent that they instill within him values, and later on he is grateful not only to the people of Smallville but to the people of America, to the people of planet Earth, that he decides to be their protector. So Bani Israel were technically refugees at the time, and they were being rejected. What many of us don't know about pre-World War II era is the fact that there were 2 types of communities in America at the time. They were the elite Jewish community, which came from Germany, Austria, highly educated, filthy rich, very liberal. Their connection with the synagogue or religious life was very minimal. Then there were the other Jews who were poor from Eastern Europe. All they had was their religious identity. They were practicing individuals, and at the same time there was the rise of Mussolini, rise of Hitler, fascism is rising up, they are being persecuted. They want to get out of Europe and go to other places in Europe or America, because America was much safer. Now, there was a voyage of Jewish refugees. They crossed the Atlantic. So they actually, on a ship, reached, I think, Florida, and they were turned back by the US government. The Nazi boats were hunting them. So when the Americans rejected them, they had to go somewhere else. In the way, the Nazis caught them. They were sent to the camps, and we all know what happened in World War II. So Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, besides their own personal frustration, they also realized, because in America at the time, there was a lot of hysteria, there was total amount of hatred for people who were non-white. And that meant people who were either Jews, either Arabs, whichever might be the case. Anyone who is a non-white is not accepted. There is a reason why an actor like Martin Sheen, he changed his name. His name is actually a Latin name. His surname is Estevez. But he had to change his name. Why? Because he looked like a white man, so he didn't want his name to become a barrier. Same problem happened with all the Jewish community at the time. So Superman was actually used by them to instill a sense of caring, a sense of morality, a sense of being selflessness amongst the American community at the time, which was dominantly white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, that look, don't be afraid of the refugees. If you give somebody home, if you give somebody refuge, they will pay you back, they will be grateful to you. And what a success this character turned out to be. America, if you go back in history, was not worried about Hitler during World War II, before they joined it. They were worried about the Japanese Empire. But what changed the public opinion? It was Superman. Of course, there are other characters, because after the creation of Superman came Batman, then came Wonder Woman, and Marvel's Captain America in 1941. And the famous Captain America issue, where Captain America is actually shown punching Hitler. The American establishment wasn't planning anything at the time. They didn't even care. But thanks to Superman, people started reading the book. People were mesmerized. People were going crazy. The kind of message that he was giving out through he is the character that when he got published, he gets a radio deal in the 1940s, which stars Batman and Robin. So the values that Superman gave to the world, which differentiated him from Hercules, which differentiated him from any other mythological character, even Aladdin, is the fact that Superman was not about himself. He was there for everyone. He didn't care if your skin color is black, yellow, brown, white, whatever have you. He believes in truth, justice. And in the initial times, they had used the slogan, the American way. But now they've changed it to world peace. So Superman being the icon, when people saw, other publishers saw that Superman's comics are selling not in hundreds of thousands, but reaching 1 million a month, then came the craze of the 40s. The 40s is a boom time for comics. Remember one thing, that pre-1962, from 1938 to 1962, this is called the golden age of comics. Because comics were being bought in huge numbers, and of course there's a reason behind that. Not everyone was having TV, not everyone was having radio. It is a post-depression, post-World War era. People would just pick up a comic book magazine. But then when people saw the success, they started to create characters. Captain America landed 2 years after Superman. And before Captain America, Marvel had already created an android, the Human Torch, and Namor the Submariner. Now, Marvel was always different compared to other companies, because other companies were trying to copy Superman. How many of you know Shazam? Nearly everyone. Shazam was not a DC comic character. It was owned by Fawcett Comics. They wanted their own version of Superman, and they developed one. Shazam's real name was Captain Marvel. You see Captain Marvel right now as part of Marvel Studios. This name used to belong to Shazam. Later on, Fawcett Comics, when it goes bankrupt, DC Comics acquires it, then DC Comics puts it on the side, Marvel gets the right to use the name Captain Marvel, all this happens. Now, the 40s, you are just coming across one superhero after another. The Green Arrow, Doll Man, Bullet Man, Bullet Girl, Justice Society of America. Justice Society, by the way, you are going to be seeing them in Black Adam movie. It was an unbelievable time. But it established what superheroes were all about. And their values were being selfless, out there for everyone, for humanity, to save. They are about justice. And one very important thing, a principle that is not only mentioned in the Torah, but also mentioned in the Quran. No kill policy. If you save one life, you have saved entire humanity. And if you kill one life, as if you have killed an entire humanity. That principle also became the standard code for superheroes. Some of you might be asking that, okay, if this is the case, why Punisher kills and he is considered a superhero? Why Deadpool kills and he is considered a superhero? Why Wolverine kills and he is considered a superhero? Well, within superheroes now, as the movement progressed, there is a category called anti-heroes. Anti-heroes are heroes, superpowered beings who believe in the philosophy of ends justifying the means. That if I have to protect Gotham and if I have to kill the Joker, and that will lead to positive consequences, I will do that. Why? Because the Joker, every time he goes back to Arkham, he gets released or he escapes and then he causes terror. So the anti-hero mentality is, but they are not your standard superheroes. Now, Superman, Batman, Robin, Shazam, Green Arrow, Captain America, Justice Society of America. When you look at these superheroes, what's the impression that you get? Yani, do they look like relatable, ideal, perfect? What?
Maybe perfect?
I like your guessing here.
I think that is the idea that they are meant to portray, especially on a moral basis. They're supposed to appear, at least they have human aspects, but they're supposed to be very morally from a higher ground. They're supposed to uphold morals very well.
I really like the description, but do you see them as, you know, we idolize someone. If we are writers, if we are even cosplayers, action figures collectors, we idolize someone. We consider him or her as the perfect embodiment of what we want to be. Is that the case with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Justice Society, Green Lantern? Is that the case?
Maybe yes.
You are giving ideas to everyone. Please. Okay. Is Superman handsome?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, see, you're jealous. Okay. Is Wonder Woman? Huh?
In movies, maybe.
Okay. We have an Henry Cavill hater. Anyways, Wonder Woman.
I like Wonder Woman.
Okay, but here the question: is she the perfect representation of a female superhero?
Yes.
I'm using the word perfect. Let other people answer. Perfect superhero. Perfect female superhero. Is Superman the perfect male superhero?
Idea.
Hmm?
Idea.
Ideal.
Ideal.
Idea as in?
Ideal.
Ideal, okay. That is what DC Comics established and what everybody replicated. From 1938 till 1962, this is what the industry was doing. Everyone was trying to create the perfect male superhero, the perfect female superhero, and none of them were succeeding. Captain America, Namor, the Human Torch, not the Fantastic Four Human Torch, but the original Human Torch who was an android, these characters were not cut from the same cloth as Superman. So they were slightly on the side, slightly on the fringe. But every other character was basically a copycat of Superman, Wonder Woman, to an extent Batman. Batman was pretty much inspired by the Spirit, which was created by Will Eisner. Now that was something really different. And that is why Will Eisner remains a big name, because Batman's creation was very much inspired by the Spirit as well as Sherlock Holmes. But in 1962, Stan Lee, if you are Marvel fans and you watch Marvel movies, I'm sure you are aware of his cameos. He was frustrated with his company Timely Comics because there was a creative fatigue. Everybody was doing much like everybody else. And when you are working in a company, obviously you have to listen to your boss, otherwise resign. But because Stan Lee was very creative and he was working alongside the legend Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby is the man who co-created Captain America with Joe Simon back in 1941. And he has many other creations. He decides that his boss says, we need to create the Timely, because Marvel was called Timely at the time, the Timely equivalent of Justice League. Now Justice League is a perfect team. Every cast member you look at Justice League is super powered, or somebody like Batman who is well resourced, well trained, perfect detective, perfect whatever have you. So the same thing Marvel is required to replicate, and Stan Lee is not happy about it. So he decides to create characters who are a family. They are not a super team, they are a family. Husband, wife, wife's brother, and husband's childhood friend. And these guys are like you and me. The only difference is that one of them happens to be a scientist, one of them is a housewife, which a lot of female readership can relate to at the time. And then there is one teenager. So again, a teenager is there, so male and female readership who are young, they can relate to. And then there's the guy who is from a military background, he is hard-headed, tough guy from the streets, something which was not uncommon to find at the time. Stan Lee creates the Fantastic Four. And this is considered the time when the Marvel Age of Comics starts. Why Marvel Age of Comics? It's because Marvel established the fact that being a superhero is not a life of privilege. Because in DC Comics, Superman, when he saves, he is praised by the mayor of Metropolis. He is praised by the President of the United States. People of Metropolis love Superman. People of Gotham love Batman. People of Washington, D.C. love Wonder Woman. But in the case of Marvel, it is people, flawed individuals, people like us, ordinary individuals, who somehow get exposed either to an experiment or a cosmic ray or whatever have you, and they get superpowers. And once they get superpowers, their life becomes even worse. So what happens is that this brings us full circle with the stories of the prophets that we came across. Now, from our beliefs, we know for a fact that the prophets are divinely selected and they are blessed with miracles and everything, so their case is different from humanity. But there is one thing that we learn from their stories which is often overlooked, that despite having been blessed with miracles, despite receiving revelations and everything, they undergo the worst of trials and tribulations. Any prophet you pick up, whether you start from Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you go all the way back to Sayyidina Isa, you go all the way back to Sayyidina Musa, go all the way back to Sayyidina Nuh and Sayyidina Adam. They endure the worst trials and tribulation. This is what Marvel did. So if the values were redefined for heroism by DC Comics, particularly Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, Marvel said that being a powered human being or a powered being is not an easy life. You will be humiliated by the very same people you try to save. Isn't that relatable? How many of us have seen a situation where we go out of our way to save somebody, where we go out of our way to help somebody, and the next thing you know, they are the first ones to stab us? Some people don't know what we have done good, and yet we are being remembered in a bad way. This was something that differentiated Marvel from DC Comics, and then it redefined superheroes for decades to come. DC superheroism is iconic superheroism, the perfect in every way. The ideal male, Superman, handsome, tall, fair-skinned, looks amazing, dresses up as Clark Kent immediately. He only puts eyewear and nobody is able to recognize him. Amazing man, I mean, I wish I had that superpower. Okay, then you have the Batman, again, tall, handsome, the guy with money, the guy who's a genius, who is the brains when it comes to creating his own gadgets. He has a bat cave, he has all the toys that boys love because he has the Batmobile, he has the Batwing, he has everything. That's iconic superheroism. Wonder Woman, lasso of truth, super powered. She is not afraid of any male who could dominate her, because at the time women were pretty much second-rate citizens. So she has superpowers, and then she can fly in the air. She has an invisible jet. She comes from Themyscira, which is an island, a perfect island for feminism, if you will. That's iconic superheroism for you. But Marvel said no. There is a thing called awkward heroism. I am someone who has been physically, mentally abused by my dad. I somehow am a good student. I end up getting a degree in nuclear physics. Somehow I land with a job in Area 51 with the US Department of Defense, and I'm helping them work on the nuclear program. Next thing you know, there is an irritating teenager who is too close to the nuclear experiment site. The guy says, the last thing I need is for this kid's blood to be on my hands. I cannot have that on my moral conscience. Who am I talking about? The Incredible Hulk. His years of abuse at the hands of his father, his anger that was bottled up, and his desire to be selfless to save a teenager, not worrying about his own life when the experiment is about to start. The reaction that happens, it gives us the Incredible Hulk. How many are Incredible Hulk fans over here? I know you are a fan of everything. Okay. Anybody else? If you are looking to understand what anger and depression and bitterness can do to you, you have to read Incredible Hulk. Not just from the 60s, all the way to the 80s and the 90s. Some of the most amazing stories that have been ever written for this particular character. And then what happens is that when we come across mental conditions that exist in our societies, they may exist within our families, they may exist within our communities, that establishes a much deeper connection with the superheroes. That is why Marvel became the most sought after, because Spider-Man was created a year later after Fantastic Four. He is the flagship character. His comics are the most entertaining, if you will. But why? President Barack Obama, who is an African American, his favorite superhero is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a character much loved by almost every ethnicity that's out there. Arab, Spider-Man. The most popular character in Saudi Arabia, according to Games Radar research, is Spider-Man. Jewish, white, African American, Latinos. Why? Good answer. The mask. Some people want their heroes to look like themselves. I'm not one. I like Superman the way he is. I like Batman the way he is. I don't want to see a brown Superman or a brown. I like the way you are. But some people like that. And especially when you're coming from a background of what African Americans were going through in the United States in the 60s because of Civil War, you always wanted to see your community being portrayed in a better light. So Spider-Man allowed everyone because he's masked. You don't see the skin color. Then his real life was the most relatable. When he became Spider-Man, he was a teenager. And he was not a good-looking teenager. Big glasses, scrawny, being bullied, not being able to make friends, often getting ignored. The troubles that were there. And then his middle-class background. Because his uncle died, he was the breadwinner. His aunt was not able to support financially, so he had to work jobs, he had to work for Daily Bugle. How much of this story is relatable actually? You don't see Superman having that. What Superman has to do is find a telephone booth. That's it. But Spider-Man changed everything. And then one thing led to another. From Fantastic Four to Spider-Man and every other thing, the concept of superheroism became, in my opinion, some people might disagree with me, but it became completed. Next slide. So, trials, tribulations of super beings, relatable or resonate? What you have heard from me right now, what do you feel? That when you see the trials and tribulations of superheroes, especially when we are talking in the context of Marvel and DC, which one do you think is relatable and which one do you think is resonating? Resonating meaning that you had experienced something similar personally. So you would understand the other person's side of the story.
When it comes to DC, you can feel that the superhero is very selective.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's only Superman. It's only Batman. It's only Wonder Woman. But when you go to Marvel, it goes to everyone. Anyone can be a hero.
Okay.
That's what I felt in the last 15-20 minutes.
Okay. Is DC relatable or resonating?
I think both.
Both.
Some heroes are relatable, some are relatable.
How many of DC characters do you know that are relatable and how many of them are resonating?
Because I'm not a
No, but still, I mean, what you know, share it.
like all of their backstories, like if you take Superman also, their backstories, many people have that thing. that-
Tragic.
Yes, tragedy, and their family left them. Same like Bruce Wayne. their
Parents get murdered.
parents
Okay.
get murdered. So these are related. But the heroism, no one is not related.
Okay.
I think it is also resonating.
Which one?
Uh,
Marvel or DC?
DC.
DC, as the lady at the back said, related. The Flash, his mother was murdered when she was making preparations for his birthday. You don't have to experience it yourself, la samahallah, in order to feel the pain. A small child losing his parents is a painful thing, and it's something that can be related. But resonating is something when you see yourself in the superhero. This is my story. If I see Peter Parker struggling in school, this is my story. If I see the Fantastic Four having an argument over any issue, Important issue. That's my family. So this is the key difference between Marvel and DC. Next. So today everybody notices the amount of money superheroes are making for their respective companies. Since I started creating content for superheroes, I am also creating gaming superhero content. So these are the industries that are there. But with all this depth and with all the values that they have exemplified, they have shown that today people are not fans of Hercules, the classic Hercules. They are fans of the Hercules that appears in Marvel Comics, because Hercules is an Avengers member. Thor, who is one of the favorites when it comes to Marvel fans, the Thor that you see in Marvel movies and the Thor that you see in Marvel Comics is nowhere close to the one that was developed as part of Norse mythology. Because again, he was brave, strong, brute, didn't care. So Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they instilled these values within Thor, and next thing you know, we see him as a member of the Avengers, one of the most popular characters. Unfortunately, Taika Waititi has ruined him in Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder. But more importantly, one of you said that Batman is more relatable amongst DC characters. Do you know that today there are universities and colleges that actually have mental illness programs that study Batman villains or even Batman? Victoria College in Canada, or Victoria University, Clyde College in Edinburgh, Scotland, University of Pittsburgh. These are the three colleges / universities that I can come up with who actually have a Batman program, much like Alf Layla is being studied at Boston University for psychoanalysis purposes. Yes, because the story of Scheherazade is actually a story whereby how she is able to not only analyze the husband of hers, I forgot the name of the prince, but also how she was able to tell him stories and make him go to sleep each and every night until his emotional scar heals and then he becomes good. So Alf Layla, the story, is basically studied at Boston University for psychoanalysis purposes. Now, who could have thought that Batman and his rogues gallery, like the Joker, like Mr. Freeze, like Hush, these are kind of the characters that are being actually studied to understand this. And even the psychology of Batman. Is Batman the cause of all the crime in Gotham City? This is a topic. Because they say, if Batman doesn't exist in Gotham, these criminals won't be there. So some people, they say, some academics, historians, they say, that Batman needs these villains because he has nothing to do in life. All his life he is looking for vengeance for the murder of his parents. And he cannot escape from it. It's a very sad analysis. So, which medium contributed more? Comics or movies? This entire culture that started in the late 30s, that made people understand that being selfless, seeing things beyond yourself, doing the right thing no matter what, even if your parents are against you, your tribe is against you. I'm saying that deliberately. Because remember, when Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out, when he said Shahada, who was the first person to curse him? His uncle. Forget other tribe members. His uncle came out against him, cursed him in front of everybody. Who was Sayyidina Ibrahim's worst enemy? Was it Nimrud or Nimrod? His father. Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam. His wife. In these stories, we are always reminded that when you stand up for something right, you will be opposed by the most unexpected people out there. But the moral of the story is that if you have to make your mark, irrespective whether you believe in Islam, you believe in Judaism, you believe in Christianity, you are an atheist, whatever is the case, as long as you believe in doing what is right, then no matter what part comes with it, because you will be challenged every day. This is the concept that has inspired people. These cosplayers, wonderful cosplayers that are there, this isn't just for them a dress-up exercise. It's much more than that. It's much more than that. Bane represents the frustration from a corrupt system that leads to this mental illness called God complex. That because everything is so ruined, I have to take it up on myself and kill as many people, wrong people. I am the judge, jury, and executioner, and I will do that so that the balance comes back. Who remembers Batman Begins? Who remembers Thanos from Marvel movies? Anyone? This is what they were saying. Because they said that the universe is khalas, gone corrupt and everything, we need to fix it. Who are you to fix it, man? You're not the judge, jury, and execution. Yes, you have to help. You have to do the right thing in your capacity. But you certainly cannot justify your means by the ends that you are proposing. So this was something, the reason I wanted to share with you was, how many of you have watched Captain America Civil War?
Which one was the third one or the first one, second one? I remember the names.
The third Captain America movie, Civil War,
No, I haven't seen it yet.
where Iron Man and Captain America go against each other.
No, not yet.
You haven't seen that?
No, not yet.
You've seen it. Okay. You guys know that's a 2-hour movie, right? Roughly 2 hours. Wait, what do you see in my hand?
Some books.
Lots of
Hmm?
comic books.
Well, actually, collected comic books, also known as graphic novels. This is entire Civil War. You cannot finish this in 2 hours. Why am I saying that to you is that what you saw or what you will see when you watch Captain America Civil War is 5% of this story. Why? This story came out during the time of President George W. Bush. And he started this Patriot Act, which was actually to single out Muslims in the anticipation that they might be terrorists. So Marvel took this opportunity because they did like the idea, and they decided to tackle this issue by creating a plot where there are superheroes, young superheroes, not the major A-list ones like Captain America or Spider-Man, no. Young superheroes who become part of a reality TV, and they, during their reality TV recording, are there to save school children. While they are doing that, one of the villains, his power is to create explosion, C3 explosion, massive explosion. And he uses that. What happens is the whole school with all the children explodes. And this is caught live on TV cameras. And everybody hated them. Just like when the Twin Towers were struck by those airplanes, everybody started to hate the Arab and the Muslim. The public opinion shifted. So they used similar situation instead on this, and then what happens is the US government says, enough with superheroes, what we need now is that if you are on the good side, you have to register with the government. People like Captain America said no. Because tomorrow the government is going to tell us to do something bad and we cannot do that, it's against our morals. So that was Civil War, what was it about? And then it results in self-sacrifice. One of the best crossover events I've ever read from Marvel. So this is basically the the need to share this information with the community here, because a lot of us grew up in an environment where we were being ridiculed by our parents. Sure, Abu Sur. When they saw comics, they thought we were reading cartoons. Or when we are watching, let's say, an animated feature, we would be ridiculed by our fathers, our uncles, or mothers, whatever have you. But no, superheroes are something very valuable. But if you want to experience superheroes in the right way, please read comics. Thank you all for your time. Any questions and answers, feel free before I start the cosplay competition. So, please. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
So,
I have a-
so we got a question here. So we are just watching all the Marvels movies from the beginning.
Right.
So we have some suggestion of a list where to watch. So I don't know what we should watch next. So I want to show you that list. If you
Please,
can.
please.
Thank you. So we are here at this one now, Avenger.
Age of Ultron,
So, is there anything else after the Avenger Infinity War?
Yes, Avengers Endgame.
Oh, the Endgame. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Avengers Endgame is basically the final part of Infinity War.
Okay.
But what I am going to tell you is that whenever you get the opportunity to read about these stories,
Okay.
you will hate yourself for watching these movies.
I have a question also.
Please.
Is it okay if I can ask about what is your favorite things? Like, what's your favorite DC character? That question.
Very tough question. Because I really hate these questions whenever anyone asks me that. Who's your favorite? Because it's very difficult for me to answer. Superman is a character I adore, I respect. In fact, when I was younger than you, the first character that appealed to me was Superman. Not Batman. Yes, I like Batman. I like the bat. I like that mask. I like the voice. I like the Batmobile. Everything. There's something different about Superman. Even the Flash, even Green Arrow, even Green Lantern. People make so much fun about these characters. But for me, it's very difficult to say who is my favorite. Any other question? Okay. If you would like to have a short break, just to get a glass of water, coffee, or tea, please help yourself. It's downstairs. If you want to have a look at all the action figures and comics that are there, please have a look through, because the next thing we need to do is the cosplay competition, because mashallah, we have 3 really wonderful participants, and we would request you to please stay till the end, because your votes are needed to determine the winner of the best cosplay. Thank you. Okay guys, the final exciting part that we have is the cosplay competition, and please, my dear audience, if you like a particular cosplay, don't shy away from clapping, because the audience reaction is going to determine who is the winner. Okay, so first up in order of appearance is going to be Bane. Please. The guy who broke Batman's back. So, how long did it take you to dress up and become Bane?
It takes about a few minutes, no?
Few minutes?
Except for the wear.
Big win.
Okay, next in the line is the favorite anime character, Titan. Great. Bane, I want you to be alongside, because the voting is going to happen when all of them are standing. Then we have the Grim Reaper. So in case anyone is wondering what Angel of Death looks like, okay. Now, the last, but certainly not the least, is Catwoman. Okay, the moment of truth. I'm going to stand in front of every contestant, and then I will see what is your reaction. The Grim Reaper.
So how do you vote?
Yeah, of course, clapping. Woo! Titan. Genuine reaction, please. Okay.
It's a good cosplay, I'm not gonna lie.
Bane. Catwoman. The winner is, based on the clappings that I heard, the reaction that I came across, even though, man, I really like all of your costumes.
Yeah.
Bane. Bane, I know you're not a huge Batman fan, so what I arranged was something non-Batman related. This is the Marvel gift box. A round of applause for Bane.
Does it detonate?
Hmm?
Does it detonate? Does it explode?
No, it's not gonna explode. I'm not the Joker, man. I'm a nice guy.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure about it. Alhamdulillah, thank you. One more round of applause, and for each and every cosplayer that we have. Thank you to all of you. You guys made my day. You guys made all of us really happy. Keep it up. More events are going to be on our way. Make sure to participate. All of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.